Hi, I'm Jamie Stegmaier, and you're listening to Board Chitless.
Hey there, chitheads, and welcome back to another episode of Board Chitless. I'm Leki, and this week I'm joined by
Sam,
Daz,
and Tristan.
And this week we've been playing Wingspan. Yeah, everyone wants a piece of this game, apparently, if you speak to people on the internet. So, Wingspan, it's a competitive bird collection engine building game. It's basically points salad for 1 to 5 players. You each get a play mat, which is beautifully illustrated and painted, and you get to play birds into your sort of bird reservation nature park.
Giant aviary.
You're trying to attract them with berries and caterpillars and nuts and see if you can get them all to get a little bit jiggy and lay eggs and produce more birds in a nutshell.
In an eggshell.
Yeah, in an eggshell. Did everyone have fun with it? Did everyone enjoy the game?
It was good for puns, but we'll save you
excellent
all of those.
for puns.
There we go.
Oh, sorry,
We're
we're
going to
not
have
meant
an
to be doing
embargo
that.
on these. Okay, you've all got 5 seconds to get the egg puns out of your heads.
That was excellent.
We already did that one.
I can't really think.
We've
Funny
had that
more.
example.
Exactly.
We used them all in the 3 hours of playing this.
This is so exasperating.
We explored the entire oeuvre of the egg pun genre. You see what I did there? That was a French pun for the learned people amongst you.
Yeah.
Oof.
Because one egg is an oof.
It's never an oof.
What about plural? Did I just say open?
Yep. You open the egg.
And
We've used so many, we've had to go to another language to unlock more puns.
We don't know.
Yeah.
and that was French with Leki, never to be repeated.
I enjoyed it, yeah.
The puns of the game.
Well done, Daz.
Both.
Keeping it real.
Both.
Keeping it back to the podcast.
Yeah.
Merged together to create a beautiful experience. The couple of games we played, were fun. Picked it up pretty quickly first time around. Lots of different mechanisms going on. You kind of jumbling different sort of strategies as you go along with different bonus cards that kind of pop up. Didn't really feel like I mastered it, but I don't think anyone will. I was kind of keeping an eye on other people's games as I was going around. Theme-wise, I think that was the only thing that I struggled with a little bit. It just seemed a bit disconnected. It looks lovely, but the birds you get, you're just looking at the points, the combos, or their like special abilities didn't really seem to relate that much to what the bird was.
Yeah.
But there's obviously subtle differences between birds, and
Yeah,
that was my experience.
The bird powers, like the activate, when activated, do this sort of powers on the bird cards. Felt a bit more contextual, didn't they, to like the habitat maybe than the birds themselves. Like
I had some cool birds that were like birds of prey, and so they would like kill and eat other birds, and then you'd stick those cards underneath the birds, and that got you victory points.
Yeah,
and then there was I had another in the last game. Then we played 2 games. In the second game, I had a tart bird, and whenever like your guys would do something on your turns, it would lay an egg, and so it was like it had this weird ability, like whilst out of the turn cycle, you could do stuff. But they all had those like strange combo sort of things that you mostly do on your own turn.
I will. Sorry, I'll take that back a little bit because there was one right at the end, which was the duck that carries another little duck. Do you remember? You mentioned
like
the
the
illustration?
duckling
It
on
was
its
like,
back.
is that a cute little? And the special ability for that was the person with the least amount of water ones gets an extra one, so it gives you a little helping lift on its back.
Little catch up. Nice.
Yeah, so some of them connected with what their ability was, I guess.
You're playing birds down to then fuel other birds in the long run. So you're gathering food to pay for the birds. The more birds you get in an area, you need eggs to hatch the birds so you can gather your eggs. And then you also draw more cards. So you're researching the birds, I suppose, would be
Like attracting them.
yeah, baiting them.
So you've got a tableau, a player board in front of you, haven't you? And there's like 3 habitats in there. You've got wetlands, grasslands, and like forests or woods. I think thematically, the food is meant to attract them in, and then they lay eggs and like spawn other birds and stuff.
The more abundance of food, the more birds you can get. Kind of thing.
And the more birds that you get into one particular habitat, the more expensive they become to place down, having to spend eggs. So you're having to like hatch them.
Because nesting areas become a premium.
Oh, right, really? It's competition.
So
it
each
was.
card represents like a flock of birds rather than a single bird.
It's like a
'cause
species,
you spend
yeah.
multiple eggs, don't you, to
Yes.
hatch one bird kind of thing. The more you have, the more eggs it costs to
Yeah.
put more birds down. And then the more you have, the better the abilities get. So you've got like 4 different actions you can do. You can either play a bird, or you can create some eggs, or you can gather food to attract the birds. And then there's one other, draw cards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, which are the bird cards. Yeah. So the more birds you play, like as you said, like you're playing a bird is a dead turn because you're literally just bringing a bird into play. But then the more birds you play, the better the ability that you've played the row that you've played it onto gets. So you can draw more cards, or you can lay more eggs, or you can gather more food.
So most of the birds have an ability that activates when you take that action. That's
Yeah.
how
Yeah,
it works.
and
And you
that's-
work through the.
That's your engine, isn't it? And so if you play an action, you've got like 4 birds in that action row. Each of those birds will trigger each time you play an
Yeah,
action.
they cascade down, don't
Yeah.
they? So you don't always have to do that ability. I think you can elect to not if it's going to cost you like resources and you want to keep them. Then you can just move on to the next one. Or sometimes you do what I did, and then you activate your birds and then realise that you didn't actually save up your resources and eggs required.
Every
It's like
turn.
every single turn, and you just mutter under your breath and carry on. It was quite nice. It's nice watching that engine sort of build up and take place. It seemed that in the first round, we all put about 3 birds down into the table. Then we had about 11 or 12 by the end of the second game. And it's one of those sorts of games where it feels like there's an overabundance of options, so that you want to fill out this lovely tableau of birds, but really you've just got this like sad little gang in the corner of wet geese.
I think that it does start to feel like that, but because you have the objectives for each round, you are more targeted to what you're going for. It's not just so you've got your own engine that you're trying to achieve, as well as trying to hit the targets for each round. So at first you start building your engine and going, all right, well, I'm going to go for the birds of prey and start munching my way through those. But if that doesn't line up with the points that you're going to get from the rounds, you can't just rely on that solely. So you then have to invest in like the different types of nesting birds, loading up eggs onto certain types of nesting birds, just a number of birds that you can have out, things like that. So your engine is separate to the point scoring system. It fuels it, but it's not like your engine itself doesn't give you the points almost. Because you've also got your own personal bonuses as well, end game objectives. So you're building an engine around that as well. So it's got to be quite, I want to say, a fluid engine. In order to account for all of the different targets. And they're kind of like moving goalposts as well. You can see what they are, but you're trying to hit a target and get the most points out of it, whilst also stopping your opponents getting points.
And once that round's done, so you could have a particular criteria where it's the most eggs in the wetlands wins the most points. And then that's like the third round. And by the time you've done that, in round 4, those eggs become victory points at the end of the game, but they're no longer useful for that one particular thing you were saving them up for. And it feels like, I've put a load of effort into doing that, and now it's completely redundant. Let's move on to getting the most birds out on the tableau.
It did add a bit of a strategy around just skipping around objectives to get ready for the next one if you think you're going to get anywhere near it.
Yeah.
Sack it off.
What was nice about the game is that pretty much anything that's on the player board by the end of the game scores a victory point or a certain amount of victory points. So if you've cashed up food tokens on birds, or you've took cards under the birds to represent a bigger flock, or you've just got 1 or 2 victory point birds down just to fill out the numbers, that's all scoring you points, and it's all building you up. And those little remaining eggs that you've got left over will also like help you score. I read online there's like loads of people saying it's just an egg spamming game where like the last few turns it's just get eggs out and then build up your victory points that way. But I don't think we ever actually did that. We were more concerned with building up that those little extra bonus cards and stuff and making sure we're scoring them.
I tried that in that first game, just bringing out loads of eggs in the last round, but I brought them out into the wrong birds and missed my own personal objectives and just shot myself in the foot and ended up losing as a result of it.
I also forgot that the actual bird itself, when you play it, has a value for victory points. So I was getting quite concerned about getting these combos working. Like on the last game, there was that eagle thing I played right at the end, and I forgot that you need to activate it. So I thought it would instantly get its special ability, realised it didn't. But then I realised, it had 5 victory points that it was worth anyway. So
some of them have like high victory point costs and rubbish abilities. So you'll go for another one that's got a better ability, like, oh, I could use this every turn. And then you're like, but if I play that one, then I'll get more points at the end, sort of thing.
Those victory points build up really quickly without you really noticing as well. So you can feel like you're lagging behind. And you're not actually, our second game was really quite close. There wasn't, that many points between everyone. In the first game, there wasn't many points between you guys. And then there was me.
There wasn't an easy way to tell at a glance if anyone was doing any good. Like, there was, in the first game, Sam had tons of eggs at the end, and we were all like, oh, well, you've got it. And you weren't even close. It was like you were third, I think, from winning. And then in the second game, there was a variety of objectives, and no one had a clue who was winning or anything like that. So you've got this weird thing where you're all sat in your own corner doing your own thing, vaguely paying attention to what everybody else is doing, but just trying to sort of maximize your turns without a clear sort of view. If you had a victory point tracker that was going around the board or something, at least you'd have a sense of, look, I'm scoring, haha, look, I've overtaken you. But in this, there's none of that. You're just like, okay, well, we played that game for 90 minutes, and then at the end of it, oh, you won. Oh, right, that's a nice surprise, sort of thing. So it's kind of hard to get a scope on that. Like in Scythe, that kind of game, you can look at the board state and go, oh my God, I've got 2 territories, and, Daz has got 15 territories. I can see where this is going, sort of thing. And you've got that sense of urgency and stuff, whereas in this, you're like, I got more birds. I did another bird.
Yeah.
Or an egg.
I think it's easy to see per objective as it's out. So like the end of round objectives, you could fairly easily see where everyone was up to and decide whether to invest in it or not. But because of all the hidden cards, you didn't know what anyone else was really going for.
Well, we were literally, it got to the point where we were asking everyone around the table, wasn't it? It was like, how close are you to getting this objective, Daz? You've got 5 of those. I've got 4, so I need to play one more to screw your score over.
And how?
Yeah, it's a competitive game, but it feels a bit like it's on the softer side of the competitive. Like, most of the information's public. How much of that information you're actually going to glean from it? Because I'm not spending most of my turn just staring at your board, Tristan, and going, like, he's got 12 birds there. There's like 13 eggs, but he's going to spend some of those eggs to buy some more birds. He's got a lot of food. I'm just going to kind of glance over, cack my pants, and then try and flounder around a bit longer with my own player board.
Yeah, there is. Everybody's doing their own thing. And there's kind of, first of all, as I said, there's no visual to recognise how well everybody's doing at a glance kind of thing. But secondly, it would take so long to figure out what everybody else is doing. You might as well just concentrate on what you're doing. And once we got the gameplay down, the turns, it's...
They fly by.
You take one turn at a time, like a Euro, and everybody's got the same number of actions. That number slowly depletes over the course of the game, but then your actions themselves go longer because you can do more things, because you get more birds down. So that kind of balances out. There's faster turns at the beginning and then slower turns at the end when each turn that you do does more.
When the combos start to really come into it. Yeah, because like your first turns are literally like grab 2 eggs, get some food, put our bird down. It's quite nice to see it all develop. I think the most complicated part of the game that I could tell was deciding when we need to re-roll the food dice. And it was like, do we do it now? There's 1 dice left, or because there's 3 dice with the same symbol on it, can we do it now?
Have we discussed those yet? There's
We've
5,
not, no.
There's 5 dice, isn't there, that you roll at the start of the game, and they're each like a critter or a type of food, isn't it, for the birds?
Yeah, so it's like grain, fruit, invertebrates, little mammals, and fish. And there's 5 different categories of food. There's 5 dice. So you could, in theory, be able to pick out 5 different types, but usually you'll get a couple that double up. And when you collect food, you have to take a dice from the dice pool that's been rolled. And you can't. So if you need mice and there's only 1 mouse dice out there, then once you've claimed it, that's it, the mice are gone. And you have to wait until they get re-rolled again before you can try and get them. You can spend 2 food tokens for 1. If you if you wanted to spend 2 grain instead of 1 mouse, you can do. If you're putting a bird down and you're desperate to get it out there. But it was nice because there'd be certain times where I thought, I'm going to get food this round, and then you look at the state of the pool and it's like, I've got 2 corn and a mouse. I'm not touching that. I'm going to wait for someone else to deplete it, then roll and get the good stuff again. And there was little things like that in the game that just like nice little quirks, really. I liked how when, like with the wetlands, mainly like card drawing, and wetlands birds will kind of buff drawing them. And then the forest birds will generally mess around with, give you more food. So by the end of the game, you get like 6 food each time you do the food collection action, which was quite nice, quite cool.
Yeah, if you build a row, it's quite satisfying. If
Oh,
you've got
yeah.
like 5 birds in a row, and then you like go to do a food action, and you can trigger all 5 of those birds. You go from having nothing in your supplies to like 10 supplies in one go. Or, that's what it looked like you guys were doing anyway. Every time I did it, I produced a worm or a berry.
Yeah, it was a bit of a strange one. I remember when I was explaining the rules to everyone, I was like, right, these are the bonus cards for the end of the game. Pick one based on what sort of birds you've got in your hand, and then you can get more in the game if you get a bird that lets you, but you'll never see that. I only saw one in my previous game. First game that we played, it never happened, and then in the second game, we all ended up with like 4 bonus cards each.
You all
scoring
did.
loads of points.
Yeah, but at least we didn't score off any of them.
Speak for yourself. I scored off each one of mine. I was excellent ornithologist.
You were excellent.
No.
Oh no,
No,
we're not doing that.
We're not doing it.
Time out. Sam.
Phrasing.
Daz mentioned earlier, like the theme was a bit sort of like loose to the game. Like you didn't feel like the bird powers were all that relevant, really. I kind of agree with you on that score in terms of the gameplay, but they have doubled down in terms of like theming, like the amount of information on the card. Like there's flavor text, Tristan.
Bird flavor text.
Bird flavor text.
This is
instead
what
of
you were
no
missing.
cow.
You wanted cow flavor text, didn't you, in Great
Exactly.
Western Trail? And now you've got bird flavor
Exactly.
text.
And it occupied me. I knew that, like the eastern crane is like the 5th largest crane in the world or whatever.
It's an ornithologist's dream, this game. And it's
really
even got the
is.
Latin names of the birds underneath the regular names of the birds.
Yeah.
And some of the scoring cards make you pay attention to what the names are as well. It's like if this is named
Yeah.
after a person, if you have birds named after a person, gain points. If you have birds that have got a colour in the name, gain points.
Yeah.
Or a body part, I think you had, Sam, didn't you?
Yeah.
Birds named after a...
Elbow.
It was like beak, bill.
Oh, okay.
Would Bill count for the name of a person and the name of
Definitely.
a part?
Bill.
Definitely.
Bill's would Bill.
Geographical ones as well. That was another one.
Yeah. The game designer was Elizabeth Hargrave. She's
Obviously a fan of birds.
she's done a hell of a lot of research into birds, the size of birds compared to other birds. There was a nice little world map in the corner of the cards as well that says where you can find these birds in real life. Like I think they've all been taken from North America, but they're also available in Europe, like the Arctic or
I
whatever.
didn't actually notice that. That's
Yeah,
nice. There's
it's-
quite a lot on those cards, isn't there?
It is,
Are you a bird fan, Leki? Is that what drove you to this game?
I'm not a bird fan. It's the artwork that drove me to it, and also the game seemed to be in such high demand that I was like, it's worth looking at. It's definitely worth having a look.
And
at
it's a
this.
Stonemaier game. You're going to
Yeah.
get the component quality is fantastic as usual. The storage of the components and everything's great.
Yeah.
You've got a little dice tower for the dice.
Which is a birdhouse, which is really nice. Yeah.
You have been drooling over that rule book, though.
The rule
all
book.
day.
It's a linen
finish.
rule book, which is just insane. Absolutely insane.
Leki was pretending to look up rules almost entirely through the game just to touch the rule book.
Rubbing my face against it.
Literally.
Yeah, I think the only part about this game that isn't premium is the scoring pad.
I thought you were going to say the game itself.
Yeah, no, the game's decent. But like all the little eggs are nice. You've got little egg miniatures in different colours, which don't have to be in different colours. It says in the rule book, ignore the colours, but they got them in different colours just to add a bit of spice, and variety to it. Like the cardboard tokens are just cardboard tokens, and that's the worst thing you can say about the game is that the cardboard tokens are too cardboardy. The player boards are lovely. They've got
But they're
like
thick cardboard, so
they're very thick, yeah. Like 300 GSM, I think. Tristan just does halfway through the game and put it out. And then the player boards, the back of
dice
it
are
is
probably
little
chunky as well, aren't
leather
they?
print. Yeah, the dice are lovely. They're
Yeah,
like
they've got a nice
oversized
finish.
wooden.
Almost too big for the dice tower.
The dice
rammed
tower is
through
not.
that birdhouse.
Yeah, the dice tower is not that well designed. The amount of times that I tried to put the dice at the back, I was probably came in at an awkward angle, but then half of them just spill over the table.
It's very cute though. It's like a birdhouse in the middle of the table.
It is.
It makes it
doing
an
a bird
event,
game.
doesn't
Yeah.
it? Because there's some times where you're that desperate for what's coming up next because you're, pushing your luck trying to get the certain type of food. So.
Even if somebody else is rolling, you're keen on what they're going to roll
Yeah,
because that's going to
absolutely.
potentially affect your turn later on.
Yeah, definitely.
It's unnecessary, but also cool.
Well, I feel like
But the tower,
tower, yeah.
Yeah, but board games are sort of like moving towards that sort of realm, aren't they? Like with Everdell, where you've got like what is basically it's basically a
completely
token
unnecessary
stand.
tree.
Yeah.
But it stands up on the table and it stands out. And
Yeah, it creates a focus point, doesn't
Immersion,
it?
isn't
The same with Wingspan, and we're probably just going to see more of that sort of stuff in the future.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, it's nice. It makes it. The the game wasn't cheap really for what the game is. I think I paid about £53 for it at Expo, so maybe paid a premium £53. I don't know what the actual is it MSRP, the RIP is. Yeah. So
P&P.
But I think a lot of that cost has gone into production values. I don't know if it'd be like Jamie Stegmaier and Stonemaier that were saying, we've got a certain sort of like bar that we've set with our previous games that we need to uphold, so we're going to do this. Or if Elizabeth as a designer just sort of went mental when all the like print sort of samples came. It's just like linen finish rule books. Why the hell not? Like it won't slip from your hands if you've got greasy fingers.
I doubt the designer would have had much to do with that. I think
You reckon?
Yeah, that's a publisher
more
thing.
development.
Yeah, because I mean it's a staple of the Stonemaier Games, isn't it, to have the super high quality components and stuff.
Some of the quality felt better than previous stuff as well. It looks like it's ramped up again, I think.
You couldn't complain about the quality of this game, and the cards are nice.
No, not at all.
And the containers as well. They've got
cards
a
are
nice
lovely.
little neat packing.
And unique
system.
artwork as well.
It even tells you
Every
how to
single-
pack the box back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It's got a little key on the side of the box, and it's like you put the rule books at the bottom, and then you put this on top. The dice tray goes next.
Graphic design's clear, simple, easy
Lovely.
to read. Once you know what you're looking for, and you know, like,
Definitely.
this has a pebble bird nest, this
Yeah.
bird, or this bird has a cavity bird nest, or whatever.
Yeah.
We've learnt a lot about nests tonight, haven't we?
We have, different types of birds have different types of nests. There's a wild nest, which is like an all-star nest.
Yeah.
Put your eggs anywhere.
Somewhere to crash.
Yeah, platform nests, cavity nests.
I'd echo
Clutches.
Daz's point about the theme. For me personally, if you love birds, I think this will be a cracking game.
Yeah.
But thematically, I didn't really massively understand who we were. Were we the birds, or we were like the sort of aviary?
The game doesn't even know though. Like when you open the rule book, it says you're playing as ornithologists, twitchers, bird researchers, bird people,
Bird spotters.
birds.
Like in
it's an
Everdell,
extra
for example,
reserve.
you're clearly building a city and you're filling it with, and it's kind of what you're doing here. But I think it's like with Great Western Trail where you're making cows. If you love cows, then you've got that to look forward to. And if you love birds in Wingspan,
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
As it being a good Euro though, a sort of Euro style game, like the theme could literally be anything and the game would work really well. Like this could have been like, we're car collectors bringing cars to a concourse show. So like you've just got different engine sizes and types of cars and all that sort of stuff. And it'll work just as well. You'd need all the unique artwork and stuff. I think there's a lot of passion's gone into the box, into the game itself, and that really shows. Like the game's called Wingspan, and each bird's wingspan's put down to the nearest centimetre, which is just a really lovely touch. It's not always useful. There's about 4 or 5 cards in the game that actually take advantage of it, but it's nice.
It all ties in nicely, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. No, nothing gone to waste. I just shudder to think of the Excel spreadsheet that went to the printers. Was it the data merge, Daz?
Don't mention the data merge. Yeah, that would have been a headache.
It's on Board Game Geek as a mid-weight game. I think it's a 3 out of 5 on their complexity rating. I'd probably put it more to a 2.5, middle of the road. Sort of a 7 Wonders style, you're going to sit down, learn the game really quickly, play it really quickly. It's a great game to teach people. It's I've not really taught people game mechanics since Galaxy Truckers years and years ago. And
You did a great job, Leki. And we were up and running after a couple of turns, weren't we?
I think we had to retcon a game.
The dice thing took a while to process, but I don't think that was your teaching. It was just like trying to get, when do we re-roll this?
Yeah, there is a couple, after reading the rules and then playing with you guys, there's a couple of rules that we have to go to Board Game Geek and sort of get a second opinion on. I know Jamie Stegmaier has responded quite personally to a lot of rules queries on there, and it would have been nice for it to be a bit clearer in the rule book, but there's a long rule book that gives you loads of details about the cards and the card powers. Then there's an appendix with a sort of quick play guide for when you're playing with new people, and then that's got all the bird powers in there and the end of round abilities and stuff. So they've done a fairly decent job there. It's just 1 or 2 things sort of slip through the net. It's not really a lot to grumble about. I just suppose it's a question of, is this a game that you're going to enjoy? Is it a theme that you're going to enjoy?
Sam?
Yes.
Sam loves the bird.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't. I thought that...
That's not what we heard.
I don't know whether to defend this anymore or not. I enjoyed the game, and that's why I wanted to play it again. It was good fun, not too heavy. It was quite a light game, I'd say.
Definitely.
But it was good fun. It felt quite quick. Picked it up pretty quickly, the rules. The theme, it doesn't really do anything for me, but I don't think it took away from the game at all. It didn't distract me from what I was doing. It was just, it was there. And I think having like the eggs and the food and stuff, it did tie in the theme into the mechanics.
They lean into it heavily in terms of aesthetics.
Invested in it, yeah. But I think it paid off for what it was. Yeah, I'd probably like to see a different theme, but didn't think I'd be as on board with it as I was.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed it.
That's
Yeah, I think you give them credit for going out and building it around such a unique, not done before as far as I'm aware, theme in the gaming world. And they've gone with it, picked a style, and they've gone absolutely thorough as you can. So yeah, it wouldn't be my theme of choice, but as I was playing it, all the different elements were there that came together really nicely. I guess it was the thing about who you were bothered me a little bit to start with. Am I sort of like a bird god? Am I?
You never think.
Am I Bill Oddie watching from afar?
You never
sort of coercing them into whatever he wants them to do. I got over that pretty quickly and enjoyed it. Like Sam was up for a second game.
Everybody was, wasn't they? As soon as we finished the first game, we were all happy to just set it up and have another bash at it straight away and get stuck into all the different engine building tactics. And so that first game we played, I had the birds of prey, and that was like, that sort of clinched it really, that, collecting all those birds,
dead bodies,
the dead birds, killing the birds. That was just the bird slayer, and that was one sort of tactic, and also played into the cards that had been dealt and everything. I just happened to have a scoring card that said use the birds of prey sort of thing, and managed to get a bunch into my hand. But in the next game, I didn't do any of that. I had a completely different set of objectives, completely different bird types that we were going for. The shared objectives were completely different to the first game as well, and far more competed over. I think in the first game, it just happened to be someone would win the objective each round. In the second game, we often were drawing, we were all sort of hitting the objectives at the same point kind of thing. And I tried to pursue a completely different strategy, which is great because it means that the next time you play it, you've got a completely different set of options and variety in the birds. And the bird deck itself, like, how many cards are there?
There is 170 unique bird cards.
Massive.
A lot of them are fairly similar. There's like an African swallow versus European swallow, and like slightly different abilities.
Watching a film, like
no. I did it for lols. There's a lot of repeating bird powers that'll come out. Very similar bird powers, and there's also like very similar artwork, but they are different birds. They've got different stats,
and you won't be always employing them for their abilities. You'll be wanting them for the nest types, the number of eggs they can carry. And you'll be collecting bird cards to discard for effects, like to help you hatch more eggs or to get more food and things like that. So you'll always be going through and experiencing a variety of different cards and different hands. Every time you play.
Spamming the draw ability to get more and more cards into hand. I think at one point, because what I do like about this game is that it's very laissez-faire about hand size. Like, there's no hand size limit. There's no limit to how many tokens you can have in your food pool. It says if you run out of any food token in the supply, start, cutting up your curtains and using them as proxies or whatever. You just get more out there, get more
really
out
wish
there.
you hadn't done that.
I've done you a favour in the long run. But what it does do is once you've filled out your habitats, so you've got like 5 birds out in your grasslands, they're not going anywhere. There might be a couple of birds that allow you to move them around the whole from one habitat to another. There might be a bird that comes in and lets you like replace a bird, but you're not going to see that very often. So if you filled up a habitat with really cheap cards for short-term effects in the early game, you're going to really pay a price for that in the long game. So it makes me think twice about making some decisions as you go along. So it's nice, and also the tie breaks. So at the end of the round, if you're playing the super competitive version, where there's a first, second, third, and fourth position, if you're quite complacent and you let someone else get the same amount of like eggs in a certain nest as you, then you split the victory points between you. And if there's a third person, you split them between all three of you and round down. So there's 1 or 2 occasions where like 2 or 3 people came first, and then by the time the points were diluted, you were better off just coming second or third.
But if you hadn't come second or third, you risk the person in first place taking all the points for themselves.
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's a clever little
It's
design.
nice.
And it doesn't swing the game one way or the other, really, because you
you can catch up.
Yeah, and I think you could probably tootle along at your own pace, just doing your own thing and concentrating on eggs and bird combos and stuff, and not pay massive attention to the shared objectives and still score highly.
Because you can get a similar amount of victory points from your own objectives as well. And it was only into the second game, really, where I started picking up cards that got you to draw new sort of objectives. So you could, if you had like 3 or 4 of those, you could just completely try and achieve those instead of getting involved in the ruckus for the end of round bonuses.
Yeah.
Which didn't work for me in the second round. But
I think if you score 1, you're still sort of in the game.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to, but I think it's just better for your own sort of mental well-being.
And it added the element of us having a bit of a nose at each other's board and seeing what was going on.
It brings a bit more player interaction into it, and you actually pay more attention to what's happening there.
Otherwise, you would completely be in your own world.
I'd like to play this again. It's got some more Toma rules with it, as all Stonemaier games really do. So I don't Mortensen Peterson's been involved with this one, or he's been handed off to someone else. But there's about 16 cards that it comes with. There's like a round tracker and some behaviour cards as well. So it'd be interesting to see how they play, how the AI players interact with you and how you get on with them. If they like steal stuff from the supply or just rinse those like food tokens. Be interesting to see. And that's about it, really. There's not a lot more that you can say about Wingspan, I don't think, without really scraping the barrel of conversation.
Welcome to Board Chitless.
Well, so let's get scraping. If you've been playing Wingspan solo with the Automa settings, or you've been playing with your mates and there's something about the game that you really want to get across to us, then please get onto the Board Chitless Facebook group. You can contact us on Twitter and @board_chitless. And you can comment on SoundCloud as well. Please leave us a review on iTunes and subscribe. And tell all your mates about us, because that'll be really lovely. Until next time then, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Toodles.
Bye-bye.
Bye.